Good late Friday, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, starting off some live coverage here. Potential Tropical Cyclone 3, giving you that update as it does move along here and move in toward parts of the northern Gulf Coast. We're talking about areas of Louisiana, especially though Mississippi being impacted right now. Even a flash flood warning in play here as we're going from parts of eastern Louisiana there in toward parts of southern Mississippi. So we'll kind of get into that here in just a moment. You see that thunderstorm accent are really disorganized here. The big story is it may not end up becoming Claudette here as it does really make its way on the land. I mean, it could actually be poor Julia or kind of poor Julia. Julia actually did end up, as went back and post analysis, evolving into a tropical system before it made landfall in Florida, even though it wasn't designated to overland. So something like that could occur here where this might not get designated until it gets overland as maybe a tropical storm, but we'll just wait and see, or a subtropical system. But we'll continue to watch. It doesn't change the impacts one bit. Just a lot of rain, a big story toward some of these areas here as we're getting toward the Gulf Coast, and then as we also look toward the region, even into parts of our area as well, maybe some isolated tornadoes possible too, which we'll get into here in just a moment. So just stay tuned. But you can see again, pretty disorganized, but there is some thunderstorm accent that's pretty robust here, as you do see with the darker colors on the screen. So we'll go ahead and move away from satellite though for now. Again, the circulation, it kind of you'll to find here. It's not perfect, but you see something trying to get going right there at the coast. We'll just kind of see how things go with that and see if it officially becomes Claudette. But again, watching that heavy rainfall with this, there's a flash flood warning here as we get in tight towards Slidell, Louisiana, also getting toward areas there around Pearlton and let me try to pronounce this here, Pearlton, there in toward parts of Mississippi and also over toward Bay St. Louis. This is a flash flood warning here until about 2:15 in the morning. A Doppler radar indicating thunderstorms producing heavy rainfall across the warned area, where between 2.5 maybe at this point and 4.5 inches of rain have fallen. This warning, this is a little while ago, but I'm kind of adding on at this point because the rain's still falling in that area, and the rainfall rate 1.5 to 2.5 inches in 1 hour, and we're going to probably see some more rain on top of that in that 3 to 6 inch range. So that's unfortunate there as we're looking again Slidell, Bay St. Louis, also getting there over toward Waveland, Diamond Head, Pearl River. We'll try to pronounce this again, Pearlton there, as well as over toward it looks like the Shoreline Park area, Lacombe, and the Slidell Airport. So I know just watching the area because the flood reports are probably going to start to come in some in the ward out region. We'll look back over the last hour. Of course, as rainfall rates up there, you can see that rain coming in the picture. You see some areas here, maybe around Picayune, we'll have to watch out later on to ward out region. So something to be monitoring. And then as we go back over the last 12 hours or so, you'll be able to see here rainfall right along and just in toward those coastal waters in that 10-inch range, and expect a lot of this to translate over to land areas here. So we have to be mindful. Flash flood watches in play all the way to parts of southwestern Georgia as we're getting over to closer towards some of our counties as well. A few of those in it in our far northwestern zones. So something to watch out for sure. But again, this is not going to be a huge impact in our area as we now go ahead and see that track. You do see the anticipation still for it to become a tropical cyclone here as it makes landfall in short order. I mean, need to just be checking here with the National Hurricane Center at this point to see if there's any update on if they're going to designate it right at the coast here, because they could, or again, it theoretically could be designated as it gets over these areas here, maybe more marshy areas as we're looking, areas that maybe still could support a system evolving as we're looking there in toward parts of southern Louisiana. I know looking back where we had our system there in 2008 with Faye as well. Faye was a system there that kind of move on over just a little bit here. Faye was a system that kind of strengthened over land towards South Florida. So something we'll watch out for sure. You see our track, I'll kind of point this out to you now. We'll kind of look at some of this. This is what we're anticipating as we get here toward later on your Saturday, maybe about 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock, or actually, let's take that back, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central Time there. Again, it's all semantics here. It's not that big of a deal in terms of where the center is, as all the action will be on the eastern side, but you kind of see the slower movement, which will lend toward more rainfall being in the picture here. And you see as we get over toward early Sunday morning there, toward Anniston and Louisiana, Talladega, you see the center, but again, everything off toward the east in general. We'll just kind of see how some of this might end up spreading out, though, a little bit too. So something we'll watch out for sure. As we go ahead and look on up, you see maybe the low there getting into toward even North Carolina by Monday. Just kind of spreading that moisture with a line on the back end there. So something to kind of keep our tabs, or keep our eyes on, keep tabs on, I should say, as we go ahead now and switch you on over to the radar estimates here over the last 12 hours. You see a little bit of rain today. We did have a flood warning out toward the airport, and that can happen sometimes just with the afternoon action, some of that moisture around. And then as we get in on the local radar right now, you do see some action here in toward areas of the coastal waters off of Apalachicola, Port St. Joe there. We'll just have to see if we get like water spouts action with that. That maybe becomes tornadic, but that's probably more toward the west of the area here in the overnight hours. Of course, if something breaks, well, you know, as we do just barely have our area clipped here in the overnight tornado risk as we get down here toward parts of western Franklin County. But again, not too concerned about the overnight hours, but we'll talk about here in a moment more about time periods later on than that here as the action kind of spreads on out. Real quick, while I have you on this view, though, I do want to go up here toward parts of Ohio where it's been an active severe weather day. Just if you're tuning in, I want to let you guys know what's going on because it's been a day there. We had a tornado, it looks like, moving there into parts of Indiana. We had PDS tornado warning even in play there. So a nasty period there. Seeing tornado warning there on Cincinnati tonight. So something that's been worth noting there for sure. And we still have it looks like severe thunderstorm watch in play as we're looking over here towards Cincinnati. I have some others as well. You can see here, even toward parts of Iowa, quite a few thunderstorm warnings. I know yesterday's supposed to have quite a bit of action there, but never really materialized. But as we kind of look over in that area, we do have an enhanced risk now in play over toward Ottumwa there. I was kind of trying to pronounce that, but you get the idea. Ottumwa there in Iowa. I think that's how you pronounce that. Wasn't doing too much research there. Just wanted to kind of give you an update though. As we're looking toward Indianapolis to Terre Haute, you kind of get the idea. Dayton, the worst of that action looks to be passing to the south at this point there. So again, just kind of seeing the severe threat up that way. But as we look back down toward the south here, you kind of see some of this action as we get toward the Gulf of Mexico, trying to come on, so we're increasing that flooding danger. So now let's go ahead and switch you on over to the forecast model here, because I have this loaded on up for everybody at home. We just kind of want to walk you hour by hour through this threat here. So let me go ahead and switch you on over. Looks like getting a little bit of an issue in our system, but again, I'm still with you here on this live stream meteorologist Casey Cloud. We have a lot of things going, so sometimes our system can be overloaded just a little bit there. But again, let's go now on over to the forecast model, which just takes you into tomorrow morning here, maybe about 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time or so. Watching things carefully here, of course. With the overall setup, you see that moisture coming on shore, and I know the Weather Service looking out toward Mobile, concerned about the overnight hours, so it doesn't take it having a name in the system to have a big time flooding impact. So even if it doesn't become Claudette, you just got to be mindful of the flooding impact here that this system could pose. So again, we're watching things carefully as we look out toward this region. Let me go ahead and emphasize this is a forecast model by putting our super on for this. So again, sticking with you here, giving you the latest information on what's happening, just checking some things behind the scenes here to make sure we don't have anything new from the National Hurricane Center. And I don't see anything new. Of course, that tropical storm warning is still in effect there as we look toward parts of the Gulf Coast from east of Morgan City, Louisiana, to the Okaloosa-Walton County line. Also Lake Pontchartrain in there, and Metro New Orleans, and its tropical impact still possible without the actual system becoming tropical, though the warning would be dropped here pretty soon if it didn't become a tropical type system. But the winds still, they're pretty high. It doesn't affect how things are going in terms of the surface type conditions. As you have a rip current risk as well. Got to really be mindful of that here toward the Gulf Coast, because the conditions are favorable for that danger to really be prominent here. Just don't really want to be out on the water as you're looking there toward areas of the northern Gulf Coast. You see this moisture here. This is about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, 11 noon. You kind of get the idea here. Maybe even some isolated spin-ups here towards southern Georgia. I'll be watching this around 1 o'clock or so. Kind of paying attention to things. Just got to watch to see if some embedded areas of rotation become prominent here. This is at 3 o'clock tomorrow, but you see north central Florida, Jacksonville staying pretty dry. Maybe some scattered storms, but the overall threats here are lower. As we'll be showing you on some more graphical details here, and showing those to you here more in just a moment. But you see 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You get the idea, some more storms, some more rainfall amounts. Just got to be careful here because isolated spots it could get quite a bit more than what I'm going to say in the forecast here. And you see a break, but then maybe another area of moisture, another effect of moisture kind of evolving here on the tail end that Sunday morning. You see in the Sunday afternoon even, and this gets more over toward north central Florida even. This is about 6 o'clock here as we're getting toward that evening rush, I guess you could call it. People may be trying to get home for Father's Day and just translate that over in toward the week, of course. Maybe heading out just to visit their fathers for the weekend, something like that, and then heading on back here. Could get into some storminess, so we'll see if any of these storms become severe on the tail end if the instability and the shear overlap this right. But the higher threats toward the north here as we are paying attention to things. And now we'll go ahead and show you some more of our graphics now, a rainfall forecast, kind of give you an overview of that here in our system. You'll be able to see as I move away. Of course, we were showing you that forecast model, but now we're showing you our overview here of the rainfall over the next 2 days. And you see toward Mobile, that is an area that's having and has had issues in the past year with tropical systems. Just got to really be careful in that area because we could have some problems there with that flooding, even if it doesn't become tropical, as it very well may not. It doesn't matter because you're going to have some big time problems in the poor drainage areas. So something to watch there. You see southern central Alabama and northern Georgia, the worst of the impact, but even getting toward parts of our area, we'll be watching here as we are looking towards southwest Georgia. So go to cloudweather.com/radar as we are paying attention there to how things set up, translate, maybe train, and if we need to break in for different threats, we will as necessary. Kind of one of those situations. Of course, if we have tornado warnings in our area, we always break in for those to keep you and your family safe, though. So we'll be paying attention there as we also have a flash flooding threat more towards southwest Georgia with a flash flood watch in play there towards some of those counties as we get further there in toward our northwestern zones. But even 2 to 3 inches possible toward Tallahassee in a more widespread manner based on model data. I mean, some model data I was looking at so even a little more than that. Some does so less. So a little bit variable here, but I remember Sally, we were not thinking the impacts would be as substantial, and then our track was jogging kind of the east there, bringing that moisture in. That was a lot stronger low pressure, but still seeing the impacts a little bit more focused here in towards some of these spots than we were anticipating. But as you see toward north central northeast Florida, not too big of an impact at all. Southeast Georgia either. Could get a quick area of rotation up that way, but again, not too concerned overall. And those wind gusts, those potential wind gusts here as we're looking 45 miles an hour toward Tallahassee, 40 toward Valdosta. You kind of see the idea here, and I kind of get that idea as we're looking over toward Brunswick, 40 miles an hour, a little bit less toward Jacksonville and Palm Coast as well, Gainesville. Down to 30 there, and there's your tornado threat. We have that threat tonight, but it goes up tomorrow toward Mobile, toward Pensacola there. You see a slight risk, may end up getting a tornado watch for parts of this area, and then a marginal risk in a bigger zone here. So kind of keeping our eyes on the overall threat here with the grand scheme of things. And as we move on to Sunday, you do see towards southern Georgia here and into parts of the Carolinas as well as central Georgia too, of course. But watching here more for southern Georgia with our viewing area covered by a tornado threat 3 days, kind of in a row here as we're looking tonight. A little bit of Franklin, but tomorrow really, and then as we're watching this Sunday as well on that Father's Day. So something to be aware of. But outside of any area of enhanced rainfall or a spin of tornado impacts should be limited to almost non-existent toward north central and northeast Florida. So if you're watching from Stark, we should be pretty good. Of course, you never know this time of year with those summertime storms kind of getting maybe some different parameters to mix. But overall, the impacts toward the Jacksonville area in northern Florida look almost zero. But as we look towards southern Georgia, a little bit of a higher threat there. And in Tallahassee, I did put a 3 out of 10 on the scale, not an official forecast, but just giving you that update here on how things are expected to shape up. We'll now go back on over to the radar, back to wrap things up, I think, as we get near midnight now on the east, 11 o'clock. They're in the central time zone, but just continue to watch things. Do want to pop up our winds here. I have this up in our system as well. So let me go ahead and go over here. I put this together a little while ago. It's a system that we use for some of this data, so we can kind of display it a little bit better. There's your radar, of course, but there's look here at your winds as well, where we're getting some gusts. I mean, to about 50 miles an hour. So this is there toward the West Delta, 51 miles an hour. Down there in the Mississippi Canyon, 48 right there over the Gulf of Mexico. 46 here as we're looking. I'll move it over some more for you. 46 as we're looking here over toward the, it looks like the Chevron oil rig area there. That's, I think, what we're talking about with that. So you see some of that action there as we're looking toward the Gulf of Mexico. You see lesser amounts on land, but still 28 there as we get toward Picayune, Gulfport there at 29 miles an hour. So again, watching things carefully in this vicinity, lower amounts locally or closer to our local area, at least. You see there towards southern Alabama, 18 miles an hour. But again, we'll continue to watch things here. Let me go ahead and go back on over now. We'll go back on over to our other source. You can see the radar here. A lot of the convection right over slide out, and that's going to cause issues with some flooding. So I know the local New Orleans stations, Gulfport, Biloxi stations there, will be covering the situation. So something that's worth noting from that local level. But right now, not a named system, which is good news overall, and that it can't really strengthen too quick. But still, otherwise, the impacts are the same here on that local area and our local area because it's not as organized. I mean, if you have a more organized system hit out here, sometimes you won't see as big of an impact toward Tallahassee, but because things are just all spread out, it's more acting like a severe weather type situation. We have the low pressure, you have some other parameters coming into play here, and just have to kind of watch for some spin-ups and some areas of isolated flash flooding as well, in addition to maybe some higher gusts of wind higher than what I showed you there in an isolated severe storm or two toward our region. So we'll keep you updated here as needed through the weekend. Hope you have a great Father's Day. If for some reason you don't have to break in, it'd be great if we didn't. But if we do, which we very well could with these spin-ups, I think there's a pretty good chance we'll get some tornadic action here, at least towards some of our counties here this weekend. So we'll be here to keep you up to date. Make sure to have multiple ways to get those alerts for that tornado danger, maybe severe thunderstorm danger, flash flooding danger as well. More, again, not around Jacksonville, Gainesville, or Stark, but toward Tallahassee, the ward areas there of southwestern Georgia in our coverage area. So we'll keep you updated. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me for now. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud. Have a great night.